What a great day for Maryland Terrapin fans.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day, and also video content creator for 247 Sports and InsideMarylandSports.com. And what a day for the Terps as Maryland football and basketball get back-to-back wins. Maryland football played at 3:30, and it seemed like such a long game. The game was going on way over time, the Maryland football game was, but it was backed up right after by the Maryland basketball game at 7 o'clock. So we had back-to-back Maryland games on BTN. And, of course, the Terps have a great day winning both of them. Let's start with the football a little bit on this post-game reaction of Locked On Terps. Of course, like and subscribe, and thank you for all the everydayers here every day. Here to listen about Maryland Terrapins football and basketball, but very rarely do we get to talk about it back to back after two games just happened. But I want to give you some of my just light reactions after the game, not dig into it too much. We'll save that for the week when we talk about it every single day. But like I said, make sure you like and subscribe. So thank you for all the everydayers. But let's start with Maryland football beats Rutgers in the last game of the season, in the last game, maybe for a lot of our players, depending on who decides to opt out for the bowl game. But the last game, the Terps beat the Rutgers Scarlet Knights to move on to the season, to move to 7-5 and finish 4-5 in conference. The Terps win 42-24 in a game that was pretty interesting because we came out fast. Exactly what we needed to do against this Rutgers team. Like I said before the game, Rutgers cannot play behind. And we did exactly that. We came out and went up 28-3 against this Terps team. And the reason against this Rutgers team, and the reason I said that the Rutgers can't play behind is because of their game plan and their identity as a team. They run the football. That's what they wanted to do. That's what they do all game. That's what they're going to do, up or down. And when they have to throw the ball over 20 times and even over 30 times like they had to today, then you're in position to win. If the Rutgers has to throw the ball over 30 times, that means they're trailing, because if they're up, they're going to pound that rock. And it makes sense because they have one of the best running backs in the Big Ten in Kyle Manyunga, who did have a really good day still with 20 carries and 118 yards. But we were able to plug up the run in key spots. And then we were also able to go up early so they couldn't just lean on the run. And that's why I was saying it was so important for us to go up 28-3. And once we went up 28-3 in the game, it was really over, I thought, because I didn't think that Rutgers quarterback was good enough. Gavin Wimsatt was good enough to come back and beat us with his arm. So Maryland played it perfectly. Go up early because Rutgers quarterback Gavin Wimsatt wasn't going to beat us with his arms. Don't let Kyle, the leading rusher in the Big Ten, don't let him beat us. Make their quarterback beat us with his right arm, and he couldn't do it. He went 13 of 34 for 165 yards and a touchdown interception. That's a pretty bad day for the Rutgers quarterback. So we did exactly what our key was against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Get up early and force them to throw the ball to be able to win the game. And give Rutgers credit. They did come back a little bit. They did make the game interesting. They did make some plays overall, but it wasn't enough overall. So an awesome win, because a lot of people thought that this Rutgers team was about as good as us. I saw a lot of people predicting Rutgers to beat us. People really outside of the Maryland community, a lot of people in the Maryland fan base thought that we would beat them. But the Vegas lines, it was basically a pick'em game. The line was like Maryland -1.5. And I was like, wow, that seems a little bit low for the Terps against the Rutgers. I know Rutgers has had a very good season, but I thought we were the better team, especially on offense. And a large part of it I based on quarterback, and we had a big quarterback advantage, of course, with now the new record holder of Big Ten passing yards. Talia, let's talk about it. Talia breaks the record for Big Ten passing yards in an amazing achievement. I still can't really believe that a Maryland quarterback has that type of record. That's the type of record that you don't just get playing really good football. Some of the best quarterbacks to ever play in the Big Ten won't ever be able to touch this type of record. This is a type of record where you have to throw the ball a lot and you have to throw the ball consistently. You have to have a consistent games in terms of passing yardage. You can't have very many games under 200 yards. You can't have very many games that aren't really like 250, 275 yards, 300 yards. And Talia has done that consistently for the Maryland program because a big part of it, honestly, is we haven't been able to run the ball well at times, and we've had to depend a lot on Talia. And our identity has been passing the rock to all the playmakers that we've had over the last couple of years and during Talia's career on the outside. That has been our identity because we always have so much talent out there. And of course, we got the quarterback in Talia, and he's been at Maryland for a while now. But for him to break that record still is so amazing to be number one. It's not number one in Maryland history anymore. He's not in all the history for the Maryland passing records. He's now number one in the Big Ten passing yards, which is an amazing accomplishment. We'll talk more about that Talia accomplishment, get more into detail about that during the week. So like I said, make sure you like and subscribe for that. But that is still a crazy accomplishment. And today, he played a great game besides the one interception that he had. Other than that, Talia had a great game with 361 yards and 3 touchdowns. One of those Talia's days where he has that one bad interception that we've kind of grown and gotten used to. It usually happens. And I made an argument that said the Talia interception is going to happen because we depend so much on him to make big time throws. And if you watch a team like Michigan or a team like Penn State, and when they play other teams like a Rutgers or a Minnesota or that type of team, a lesser echelon Big Ten type of team, they don't have to depend on their quarterback to make those big time type of throws over and over again and to fit them into windows that you probably don't really want to. But Talia has to do that sometimes for us to win. So he's going to throw an interception, trying to make plays for the Maryland Terrapins. But a great day for Talia, passing the Big Ten passing yard record, which is just a truly amazing accomplishment. And then also let's highlight Roman Hemby, who had a very good second half and overall went over 100 yards with 15 carries for 113 yards, one of his better games of the year. And let's talk about the development of Ty Felton. He came in this year and we didn't even think he'd be a top 3 wide receiver on this team. And he has showed some truly amazing talent. Ty Felton has showed this year. Today, he went for 5 receptions for 140 yards. What a day for Ty Felton. Like I said, we didn't think he'd be a top 3 wide receiver this year. We thought that was Tyrese Chambers, and obviously Tyrese Chambers has left the program now and has gone on to try and go into the NFL draft and everything. But for Ty Felton to have this type of Maryland career that none of us could have expected or this type of year so far, not career. I think we could have said that he maybe could have had this type of career, but this type of year, I didn't expect it. I thought next year was the year. His senior year, I thought was going to be the year. But next year, he's going to be our number 1 wide receiver. He's going to be our clear, him and Caden Prather, if Caden Prather comes back, are going to be a great duo on the outside. And Jayson Jones will be gone. But I have a lot of faith for Octavian Smith to step right in. But having that player like Ty Felton to come back next year when Talia's gone is going to be huge to have that big time type of wide receiver that can go for 5 receptions and 140 yards. So what a day for Ty Felton. And then Jayson Jones also made a milestone. Not only Talia did, Jayson Jones also passed 2,000 career receiving yards. We know Jayson Jones has been through the ups, been through the downs, been through the injuries at Maryland football, but he's stuck with it. He's stuck at Maryland, and he's been an awesome player, a safety blanket for Talia Tagovailoa. And you can't say enough about Jayson Jones and how he's progressed, how much he played as a freshman, and how he's continued to gotten better and gone through the up and downs of his Maryland career. But today was a huge win overall against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. I thought our defense played well for a lot of the points of the game, but also gave up some big plays that there's definitely stuff to clean up. Glendon Miller also had a huge interception, but the Maryland defense definitely played well enough to win. Maryland offense looked explosive, and Maryland's next game will be a bowl game. I can't believe that's it. That's the regular season, and we finished right behind the big three on our side of the Big Ten, which I don't think is a bad thing to do. It is really hard to enter and sliver into that conversation into the big three of the Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. But we finished right behind them and proved that we're the fourth best team on our side of the Big Ten. So we finished 7-5. Maybe we wanted to win a couple more games, but still very solid year for Mike Locksley, especially where we were 3, 4, 5 years ago. So great overall. I'm not going to say great year for Coach Locksley, but a solid year for Coach Locksley. It matches last year's regular season win totals. So he's always gone up in terms of regular season win totals, or he has stayed the same, which is pretty amazing to do. We'll see what he does next year when Talia is gone. That's going to be the real tell. But still a solid year for Maryland football. And of course, we'll get into more of that in the week. But let's talk about Maryland basketball. Picks up a win, their second straight after having that rough streak. 69-55 against South Alabama. And this game was interesting. We won't talk about it a ton. Like I said, we'll talk about it during the week a little bit more. But this game was interesting because South Alabama ran a 2-3 zone the entire day. And honestly, I thought that was great for us. I think that was an amazing look for us because we haven't faced much zone this year. Yeah, we face it in spots here or there, but we haven't faced most of it. And I would not be surprised at all if the Terps are going to, or if teams are going to zone up the Terps because of what we are as a basketball team and how we play and how our shooting is a struggle. And it still struggles. Certain players are still struggling a ton from the 3-point line. And so I wouldn't be surprised if teams play zone 3-2, 2-3, whatever it is, 1-3-1. I wouldn't be surprised if teams play zone against Maryland because of our shooting struggles overall. But we definitely picked it up in the second half and kind of learned how to attack the zone. And we had some very good looks against the zone. So give credit to Kevin Willard against South Alabama. He definitely had some good plays against the zone, and the guys did a really good job. And he made some really good adjustments at the half because the first part of the game, it was close. It looked like South Alabama actually had the lead for a while, and then Maryland took it back and adjusted to playing against a zone that they, like I said, haven't played much this year. But it was a balanced scoring at the top. Jameer Young had 16, Julian Reese had 19, Dante Scott had 19, Jordan Geronimo had 14. Those four, the big four right now, very solid day for them. I'm going to start with Jameer Young. Obviously, he's been playing really well. He's kind of done what we expected him to do, to play like an all Big Ten player. Julian Reese, another great game for him. He's great in the zone to get him in the middle, feed him in the middle of the zone. That's how you beat the zone. You get the ball in the middle, but he had 19 points and 15 rebounds. Man, Julian Reese is getting a double-double. It seems like every single game. And then Dante Scott, great game for Dante Scott. Like I said, 19 points, 7 of 13 from the field, which we'll definitely take, and 7 rebounds for him, and 3 for 8 from the 3-point line, which is not too shabby at all. And Jordan Geronimo is the most improved player this year. From the first couple of games to how he's been playing now, Jordan Geronimo is the most improved player on our roster by far. He's been playing great the last couple of games. We didn't think he was very much of a scorer, but him dropping 14 points and doing exactly what I said he needed to do last game, what he did for the Terps, he's shooting a high percentage and getting a lot of points. He went 5 for 8 this game, like I said, for 14 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. He's just plugging up the stat sheet overall. But if those 4 guys can continue to play at that type of elite type of level, especially Jameer Young and Julian Reese can play at an all Big Ten level, and Dante and Jordan Geronimo are playing, well, we're going to be okay. I know there's a lot of concern, but now we're back at 500, even after the really bad losing streak and looking really bad. Give credit to Kevin Willard. We look a lot better now over these past couple of weeks in these past 2 games. The Terps definitely look a lot better. It'll be interesting to see more when we play some of the Big Ten type of opponents and the Power 5 type of people, but we definitely look a lot better so far. But let's talk about the couple of struggles back-to-back games. Deshaun Harris-Smith and Jamie Kaiser, the two freshmen, are very concerning right now, especially against the zone last night or tonight. Deshaun Harris-Smith struggled, and you could have seen it coming because he doesn't shoot the ball well, and it's hard to get into the lane against the zone. And Deshaun Harris-Smith couldn't buy a bucket, went 0 for 5 from three-point line, 0 for 5 from the field, and 0 for 2 from the free throw line. I guarantee he'll be in the gym throwing up shots because I know how hard of a worker he is. And I'm not going to say his jump shot is broken, but there's definitely a confidence type of issue with it. He's still shooting it, which is great, but it gets in your head. And you could say the same thing about Jamie Kaiser. Jamie Kaiser, we all know he's a great shooter. It's just finding his rhythm. But he went 0 for 5 from the three-point arc, and he was in there a big part against the zone because we know he can shoot and stretch the floor, and he's the perfect type of player to have out there against the zone. But those two guys having 0 points and combining for an 0 for on the field and from the three-point line, they combined for 0 for 8 from the three-point line and 0 for 10 from the field. We're going to depend on those guys, and I'm telling you, this is the big thing. Right now, Jordan Geronimo, Julian Reese, Jameer Young, Dante Scott are all having great games. But if one of them's not on and one of them's off one day, we're going to need one of these freshmen to step up. And we're going to need them to play a little bit better, definitely more efficiently. But we got to give them time. They're freshmen. We're giving them huge roles on the offense. Deshaun Harris-Smith is a starter. He's going to figure it out. We know he can drive the ball. But when we play teams that are in zone or that type of teams, he still has to find a way to be impactful and to just shoot the ball a little bit better, but he'll definitely get that shot going. But that's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to a little post-game action of Maryland football and basketball. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball, so make sure you like and subscribe. But thank you for listening to Locked On Terps.